The notification pinged on my phone while I was having coffee with my best friend Claire. I glanced at the screen, and my stomach dropped. Someone had tagged me in a post. When I opened Instagram, I saw our engagement photo shoot picture, the one where Nathan and I were laughing in the park, golden hour light making everything perfect. But the caption made my blood run cold. Guess we'll see how long this lasts, smirking face posted by Vanessa, Nathan's ex-girlfriend. The woman who'd been a thorn in my side since we started dating 2 years ago. My hands started shaking. Claire leaned over to look. Did she seriously just... She posted our private photo with that comment. My voice came out smaller than I intended. The post already had dozens of likes and comments. People I didn't know were weighing in on my relationship. Some defended me. Others seemed to enjoy the drama. A few even agreed with Vanessa's skepticism. "That's so inappropriate," Claire said, anger flashing in her eyes. "You need to report that post." But I was frozen, staring at the screen. Vanessa had always made subtle digs about Nathan and me. Comments about how she'd known him longer. Hints that he'd never really gotten over her. But this was different. This was a public attack right before my wedding. I called Nathan immediately after leaving the coffee shop. My voice was shaking when he answered. "Nathan, did you see what Vanessa posted?" "What are you talking about?" He sounded distracted, probably at work. "She took our engagement photo and posted it on her Instagram with a comment about how long our relationship will last. She's mocking us publicly." There was a pause. "Lena, just ignore it. Vanessa's bitter. She's been bitter since we broke up 3 years ago." "Ignore it?" "Nathan, she's publicly humiliating me 2 weeks before our wedding. And responding will only give her what she wants. Attention. Just block her and move on." His dismissive tone stung worse than Vanessa's post. I'd expected comfort, support, maybe even anger on my behalf. Instead, I got indifference. "You don't understand how this feels," I said quietly. "I understand that my ex is jealous and immature. But letting her get to you is exactly what she wants. So, I'm just supposed to pretend this didn't happen?" "Lena, I have a meeting in 5 minutes. Can we talk about this later?" We hung up, and I felt completely alone. The man I was supposed to marry in 2 weeks had just brushed off my humiliation like it was nothing. Like my feelings didn't matter. Like Vanessa's opinion somehow carried more weight than my pain. The next few days were torture. Every time I checked my phone, I saw Vanessa's post. She'd kept it up despite my request to take it down. The comments had grown to over 100, creating a spectacle of my private life. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus on wedding preparations without thinking about that smug emoji and her cruel prediction about my marriage. Claire came over one evening and found me crying on my couch, surrounded by wedding planning binders I couldn't bring myself to open. "This is ridiculous," she said, sitting beside me. "You're letting her win." "I know, but I can't stop thinking about it. What if she's right? What if Nathan and I don't last?" "Stop. You're spiraling. Vanessa is a bitter woman who can't let go. Her opinion means nothing." But it wasn't just her opinion anymore. It was the seed of doubt she'd planted in my mind. Every small issue with Nathan suddenly felt magnified. His dismissive response. His lack of empathy. The way he always seemed to defend Vanessa's behavior as just her being bitter, instead of recognizing how much it hurt me. "I need to do something," I said finally. "Not react. Not fight back. But something that takes back my power." "What do you mean?" I wasn't sure yet. But I knew I couldn't let Vanessa's cruelty define my life. I needed to respond not with anger, but with purpose. With strength. With a message that would shift this entire narrative. I spent the weekend crafting my response. Not a defensive post calling out Vanessa, which would make me look weak and petty. Not a sickeningly sweet couple photo proving how happy Nathan and I were, which would look desperate. Something bigger. Something that would show I was more than just Nathan's fiancé. More than the target of his ex's jealousy. I was a successful marketing director at a tech company. I had my own career, my own ambitions, my own identity. Vanessa's post had reduced me to nothing but my relationship with Nathan. It was time to change that narrative. I opened my laptop and started writing. A post about personal growth, self-worth, and refusing to let others' negativity define you. About how love should empower, not diminish. About building a partnership based on mutual respect and support. I didn't mention Vanessa. I didn't mention the drama. But anyone who'd seen her post would understand the subtext. This was me taking control of my story. By Sunday evening, I had it perfect. The post was powerful, confident, and mature. Everything Vanessa's snide comment wasn't. I scheduled it to publish Monday morning and tried to sleep. Tomorrow, I would start rewriting this narrative. Tomorrow, I would show everyone who I really was. Monday morning, my post went live. Within an hour, it had hundreds of likes and dozens of supportive comments. Friends, colleagues, even acquaintances reached out privately to tell me how inspired they were by my words. This is beautiful, Lena. You're so strong. I needed to hear this today. Thank you. Your future husband is lucky to have such a confident woman. The validation felt good. But what felt better was reclaiming my narrative. I wasn't a victim of Vanessa's cruelty. I was someone who rose above it. Someone who refused to play petty games. Someone who knew her own worth. At work, my assistant stopped by my office. I saw your post this morning. It was really powerful. Thank you, Hannah. I hope you don't mind me saying, but everyone knows what Nathan's ex did. And your response was so much classier than anything she could ever write. I smiled. The word was spreading exactly how I'd hoped. Not as drama, but as a demonstration of maturity and strength. But Nathan's response was less enthusiastic. He texted me around noon. Did you have to make such a public statement? Now everyone's talking about our relationship. I stared at his message in disbelief. He was bothered by my empowering post, but hadn't been bothered by Vanessa's cruel one. That realization hit me like ice water. Something was fundamentally wrong here. Vanessa's response came that evening. A private message, not a public post. Trying to make yourself look better by writing inspirational nonsense? Everyone can see through it. You're desperate, and it shows. I showed the message to Claire over the phone. She's rattled, Claire said immediately. If she wasn't, she wouldn't have sent this. Your post got to her. You think so? Absolutely. She expected you to either ignore her or lash out. You did neither. You took the high road and made yourself look good in the process. She can't handle it. That perspective helped. But Nathan's reaction still bothered me. When he came over that night, I confronted him. Why did my post bother you more than what Vanessa did? He sighed, clearly annoyed. Because you made our private relationship public. You turned it into a spectacle. Vanessa made it public when she posted our photo with that comment. I just responded with dignity. You responded by making yourself look like a victim. I am a victim of her harassment. You're being dramatic, Lena. It was one comment. That word, dramatic, felt like a slap. I wasn't being dramatic. I was hurt. And my fiancé couldn't see the difference. I think you should leave, I said quietly. What? I need space to think. About us. About everything. He looked stunned but eventually left. And for the first time since Vanessa's post, I felt a strange sense of clarity. The next day at work, something unexpected happened. My boss, Helen, called me into her office. Lena, I saw your Instagram post yesterday. My heart sank. Was I in trouble for posting something personal? I hope that's okay. It wasn't during work hours. It was more than okay. It was inspiring. And it made me think about something. She pulled out a folder. We're launching a new campaign about women's empowerment in tech. Your voice, your perspective, your ability to articulate strength in the face of adversity, that's exactly what we need. What are you saying? I want you to lead the campaign. It'll mean a promotion to senior director and a significant raise. Are you interested? I was speechless. My response to Vanessa's cruelty had accidentally opened a professional door I'd never expected. Yes. Absolutely yes. Walking out of Helen's office, I felt something shift inside me. My career was taking off. My confidence was growing. And Nathan? Nathan was still dismissing my feelings and defending his ex's behavior. The contrast was stark and troubling. When I told Claire about the promotion, she screamed with excitement. "This is amazing! And it proves something important."
What?
That your value isn't defined by Nathan or Vanessa or anyone else. You created this opportunity by being authentically yourself. Remember that. I intended to, because that lesson was becoming clearer every day. Nathan noticed the attention I was getting. At a dinner party that weekend, multiple people congratulated me on the promotion and referenced my Instagram post. He sat quietly, his jaw tight, clearly uncomfortable with me being the center of positive attention. On the drive home, his frustration finally erupted. "Why did you need to make such a grand gesture with that post? Why couldn't you just ignore Vanessa, like I suggested?" Because ignoring her meant letting her define me. I needed to reclaim my narrative. "But now you've made everything about you. The wedding, our relationship, all of it is overshadowed by your need for validation." His words were cruel and revealing. This wasn't about my need for validation. It was about his discomfort with me standing up for myself. "Nathan, I got a major promotion because of that post. Because I showed strength and leadership. Why aren't you happy for me?" "I am happy. But I'm also confused about why you needed to air our relationship drama online." "Vanessa aired it. I just responded with grace. You responded with attention-seeking behavior." I pulled a car over. We were 5 minutes from my apartment, but I couldn't drive while this angry. "Do you hear yourself? Your ex publicly mocked our relationship, and you defended her." I responded with a mature, empowering post, "And you're criticizing me." "I'm not defending her." "Yes, you are. You always have. And I'm starting to understand why." His face went pale. "What does that mean?" "It means maybe Vanessa's not the only problem here." Vanessa's tactics grew more desperate after my promotion announcement. She started posting throwback photos of her and Nathan with captions like "Some memories never fade" and "The ones who really know you." Each post was designed to suggest she had some special claim on him, some deeper connection I could never match. Nathan claimed he didn't see the posts, that he'd unfollowed her months ago. But friends kept forwarding them to me, and I couldn't escape the pattern. She was trying to undermine me subtly, publicly, constantly. The old me would have been devastated, would have questioned my relationship and my worth.
But something had changed.
Each passive-aggressive post Vanessa made only highlighted how secure I'd become in myself. My promotion had given me confidence. My strong response to her initial attack had shown me my own power. And watching Nathan's discomfort with my growing strength had revealed cracks in our relationship I'd been ignoring. "She's spiraling," Claire said when I showed her the latest posts. "This is what desperation looks like." Why does she care so much? They broke up 3 years ago. Because she thought she had power over Nathan. And by extension, power over you. But you've shown you don't care about her opinion. That terrifies her. "Good," I said. And I meant it. Vanessa's opinion had stopped mattering the moment I stopped letting it define me. 2 weeks before the wedding, I reached my breaking point with Nathan. We were supposed to be finalizing seating charts, and he made another dismissive comment about Vanessa just being an ex, and how I needed to stop making everything a big deal. "That's it," I said, closing my laptop.
"What?"
"I can't do this anymore. You've dismissed my feelings at every turn. You've defended Vanessa's behavior. You've criticized my strength while enabling her cruelty. Lena, you're overreacting. Stop. Just stop saying I'm overreacting or being dramatic. My feelings are valid, and your inability to support me is a serious problem." He looked stunned. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I need space. Time to think about whether I can marry someone who makes me feel small for standing up for myself." "You're calling off the wedding?" "I'm calling off making any decisions until I figure out what I actually want. Not what you want. Not what Vanessa wants. What I want." Nathan stood there, speechless. For the first time since we'd been together, I'd put my needs first. And it felt terrifying and liberating all at once. "Lena, please don't do this." "I have to." Because if I marry you feeling this way, we'll both be miserable. He left that night, and I sat in the silence of my apartment, crying but also feeling oddly free. Something was ending, but maybe something better was beginning. The next morning, I made a decision that surprised even me. I'd been accepted into a prestigious executive leadership program in London 3 months ago, but had turned it down because of the wedding. It was a 6-month intensive program that would elevate my career to the next level. International experience, connections with industry leaders, the kind of opportunity that came once in a lifetime. I'd sacrificed it for Nathan. For a wedding that now felt uncertain. For a relationship that was revealing fundamental problems. I called the program director. Is the position still available? Lena, we'd love to have you. But the program starts in 2 weeks. I know. I can make it work. That afternoon, I started making arrangements. Subletting my apartment. Taking a leave of absence from work. Packing my life into storage. Nathan called constantly, but I didn't answer. I needed this decision to be mine alone, without his influence or pressure. When I finally met with him 3 days later, his face was haggard. Lena, we need to talk about the wedding. I'm going to London, I said simply. What? I was accepted into an executive leadership program. 6 months. It starts in 10 days. You turned that down months ago. For us. For the wedding. I know. But things have changed. I've changed. And I need to prioritize my growth and my future. Nathan's eyes filled with tears. So you're just leaving? Calling off our wedding and moving to another country? I'm taking control of my life. Something I should have done sooner. My announcement wasn't about Nathan anymore. It was about me finally choosing myself. My career. My growth. My independence. I crafted a public post explaining my decision. Not about relationship drama, but about professional opportunity and personal growth. About how sometimes the biggest act of self-love is pursuing your dreams even when it's scary. I've been offered an incredible opportunity to study leadership in London for 6 months. It's terrifying and exhilarating, but I'm choosing growth over comfort. I'm choosing myself. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of messages from women thanking me for inspiring them to pursue their own dreams. Professional contacts congratulating me on the opportunity. Even people who didn't know me personally commenting about how brave I was. But the most important response was my own. Looking at that post, announcing my decision to the world, I felt proud. Not of leaving Nathan, but of finally valuing myself enough to choose my own path. Nathan saw the post. He called immediately. You announced this on Instagram before telling me? I told you 3 days ago that I was going to London. But you didn't say. I thought we could work through this. Nathan, we've been trying to work through this for months. Every time I stood up for myself, you told me I was overreacting. Every time Vanessa hurt me, you defended her. That's not a partnership. I love you. I love you too. But I love myself more now. And that means I can't stay in a relationship where I'm constantly made to feel like my feelings don't matter. Nathan's reaction evolved from shock to hurt to a kind of desperate self-reflection. He started sending long texts about how he'd taken me for granted, how he'd been wrong to dismiss my feelings, how he wanted to change. Part of me wanted to believe him. But a larger part recognized these promises as reactive, not genuine transformation. People don't change because they're losing something. They change because they genuinely understand their mistakes. He's scared of losing you, Claire said when I showed her his messages. That's not the same as respecting you. I know. Are you sure about London? This is a big decision. I've never been more sure of anything. For the first time in years, I'm choosing what I want instead of what everyone expects of me. 5 days before my departure, I met Nathan for coffee. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. I've been seeing a therapist, he said immediately, trying to understand why I couldn't support you properly. Why I kept defending Vanessa. What did you learn? That I was afraid of your strength. When you started standing up to Vanessa, when you got that promotion, when you started putting yourself first, it threatened me. Because it meant you didn't need me anymore. His honesty was unexpected and appreciated. But it also confirmed what I'd already known. You're right. I don't need you. But I wanted you. There's a difference. I wanted a partner who celebrated my strength, not felt threatened by it. I can be that person. Maybe. But I need to focus on being my own person first. My last week before London was a whirlwind of preparations and emotions. Packing my apartment, saying goodbye to friends, finishing projects at work. And everywhere I went, people wanted to talk about my decision. You're so brave, they'd say. But it didn't feel brave. It felt necessary. Vanessa, predictably, had her own reaction. She posted a cryptic message. Sometimes people run away instead of facing their problems. But you can't escape yourself. Claire saw it and immediately texted me. Do not let her get in your head right before you leave. I'm not. Her opinions stopped mattering weeks ago. And it was true. Vanessa's comments had lost their power over me. I was too focused on my future to care about her bitterness. The night before my flight, Nathan showed up at my apartment unannounced. I know I don't have the right to ask this, he said. But can we talk? Really talk? I let him in. We sat on my couch, surrounded by packed boxes, and had the most honest conversation of our relationship. I failed you, he said simply. I let my insecurities make me dismissive. I defended Vanessa because rejecting her criticism of you would have meant confronting how threatened I felt by your strength. Why didn't you just tell me that? Because I didn't understand it myself until I lost you. I took his hand. Nathan, I hope you grow from this. I hope you find peace. But I can't be the one to help you do that. I know. We cried together. Not for what we'd lost, but for what we'd never quite had. A real partnership built on mutual respect. Then I walked him to the door and said goodbye. London was extraordinary. The program was intense, challenging, and exactly what I needed. I was surrounded by ambitious professionals from around the world, learning from industry leaders, building skills and connections that would shape my entire career. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about Nathan or Vanessa or relationship drama. I was focused entirely on my own growth. My roommate in the program, a brilliant woman named Aisha from Kenya, became a close friend. You seem lighter every week, she observed one evening. Like you're shedding old skin. That's exactly how it feels. Like I'm becoming who I was always meant to be. What happened? What made you come here? I told her the whole story. Vanessa's post. Nathan's dismissiveness. My decision to choose myself. That's powerful, Aisha said. Most people would have stayed. Would have tried to make it work. You walked away. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But also the most important. She was right. Choosing London, choosing my career, choosing myself, it had been the catalyst for transformation I hadn't known I needed. Social media showed me glimpses of life back home. Nathan had taken down his relationship status and stopped posting altogether. Vanessa was still posting cryptic messages, but they felt pathetic now rather than threatening. And my own professional page was growing. My company had promoted my work with the empowerment campaign, and I was gaining recognition in the industry. My career was flourishing in ways it never could have if I'd stayed stuck in that relationship dynamic. 3 months into the London program, Nathan reached out. Not with promises or pleas, but with a genuine apology. Lena, I've spent the last few months in therapy working on myself. Not to win you back, but because I needed to understand my own patterns. I wanted you to know that I finally get it. I understand how badly I failed you. How my insecurity masked itself as dismissiveness. How I prioritized my comfort over your dignity.
I'm sorry.
You deserved so much better, and I hope wherever you are, you're thriving. You always deserve to thrive. His message made me cry. Not from sadness or longing, but from closure. This was the Nathan I'd needed months ago. But I'd grown beyond needing his validation now. I responded simply, "Thank you for this. I hope you continue growing. Take care." That was it. No drama. No reconciliation. Just 2 people acknowledging what had been and moving forward separately. Claire called that evening, having seen my story post about completing a major project. "You look so happy." Actually, genuinely happy. I am. For the first time in years, I'm building a life that's entirely mine, not defined by a relationship or anyone else's expectations. Any regrets about leaving?
None.
Choosing myself was the best decision I ever made. And it was true. Every day in London reinforced that I'd made the right choice. Not the easy choice, but the right one. The program introduced me to opportunities I'd never imagined. Guest speakers from Fortune 500 companies, networking events with industry leaders, project collaborations that push my skills to new levels. One evening, a tech CEO named Caroline Webb approached me after a panel discussion I'd participated in. Your insights on empowerment marketing were brilliant. Have you considered consulting? I'm currently employed back home in the States. But after this program, I have connections at several firms. With your experience and perspective, you could build an incredible consulting practice. She handed me her card. Think about it. The industry needs more voices like yours. Walking back to my apartment, I thought about her words. I'd come to London to escape a relationship that was suffocating me. But I'd found so much more. A career path I'd never considered. Confidence in my own expertise. A network of professionals who valued my contributions. I wasn't running away from my problems, as Vanessa had suggested. I was running toward my potential. The program was teaching me leadership skills, yes. But more importantly, it was teaching me my own worth. I was capable of so much more than I'd allowed myself to be. And returning to my old life, my old job, my old patterns, suddenly that felt like going backward. For months into the program, I received news that changed everything. The women's empowerment campaign I'd led before leaving for London had won 3 major industry awards. My company wanted me to return as vice president of marketing, leading all future campaigns. The salary was substantial. The role was everything I'd worked toward for years. But I also had Caroline Webb's offer to consider. Consulting would mean independence, flexibility, building something entirely my own. It was riskier, but potentially more rewarding. I spent weeks weighing the options, talking to mentors, analyzing what I truly wanted from my career and life. The woman who'd arrived in London 4 months ago would have immediately accepted the VP position. Safe. Prestigious. Exactly what I'd always thought I wanted. But that woman didn't exist anymore. I'd grown beyond playing it safe. I called Caroline. I'm interested in consulting. Tell me more. We spent 2 hours on a video call, discussing possibilities. She had clients ready to work with me, projects that would showcase my expertise, the potential to build something significant. By the end of the call, I'd made my decision. I would finish the London program, then spend the next year building my own consulting practice. It was terrifying and exhilarating, but it was mine. Completely, entirely mine. I called my old company and thanked them for the offer, but declined. I'm building something of my own. My boss was disappointed, but understanding. You're making the bold choice, Lena. That takes courage. I learned it from necessity, but I'm grateful for the lesson. In my 5th month in London, Nathan reached out one more time. Not with apologies or regrets, but with genuine happiness for my success. I saw the news about your consulting practice. That's incredible, Lena. I'm really proud of you. Thank you. I wanted you to know that your decision to leave was the best thing that could have happened to me. Not because I wanted to lose you, but because it forced me to confront everything I'd been avoiding about myself. I'm glad you're growing. I am. I'm dating someone new. Slowly, carefully. And for the first time, I'm actually showing up as a partner. Not hiding behind dismissiveness or defending my ex. I'm present. It's because of what I learned from losing you. I hope it works out. And I hope London is everything you deserve. Actually, I know it is. I can see it in your posts. You're thriving. After we hung up, I realized something profound. Nathan's growth wasn't my victory. My growth was my victory. His journey was his own. Mine was mine. We both needed to separate to become the people we were meant to be. And that was okay. That was healthy. That was the whole point. 2 people recognizing that sometimes love isn't enough. that respect, support, and shared values matter just as much.
We didn't have that.
But we'd both learned from the failure, and that was worth something. My final month in London was a celebration. I'd completed the program with distinction, built relationships with professionals around the world, secured my first 3 consulting clients, developed a business plan that excited and terrified me in equal measure. At the program's graduation ceremony, I gave a speech about transformation. 6 months ago, I came here running from heartbreak. But I found so much more than an escape. I found myself. I learned that the biggest act of self-love is choosing your own path, even when everyone expects you to follow theirs. I learned that your value isn't determined by who loves you or who validates you. It's inherent,
Permanent.
yours. The audience of accomplished professionals gave me a standing ovation. Aisha hugged me afterward. You've come so far. It's been incredible to witness. I feel like a different person than who arrived here. You're the same person. You just finally let yourself be her. Back in my apartment that night, packing for my return to the States, I thought about Vanessa's original post. Guess we'll see how long this lasts. She'd been predicting my relationship would fail. She'd been trying to humiliate me. But instead, she'd inadvertently pushed me toward the best decision of my life. Her cruelty had been the catalyst for my transformation, and for that I was almost grateful. Returning home felt different. I wasn't the same woman who'd left 6 months ago. I'd grown, evolved, transformed into someone more confident, more certain, more completely herself. Vanessa, I learned from Claire, had been relatively quiet. Her passive-aggressive posts had stopped around month 3 of my London adventure. She realized you weren't paying attention, Claire explained. Her power came from your reaction. When you stopped reacting, she became irrelevant. How does she seem now? Honestly, lonely and bitter. She's still posting about Nathan, still trying to stay relevant in his life. But he's moved on. Everyone's moved on. It struck me then how much energy Vanessa had wasted on negativity while I'd been building my future. She'd been so focused on tearing me down that she'd neglected her own growth. I feel bad for her, I said, surprising myself. She's trapped in bitterness while you're out here thriving. Yeah, I'd feel bad too. That's because you're a good person. I started my consulting practice with 3 clients and a small office space. The work was challenging but fulfilling. Each project allowed me to use my expertise while helping companies develop authentic empowerment campaigns. Within 2 months, my client list had doubled. Within 4, I was turning away work. The business I'd built on the foundation of choosing myself was succeeding beyond anything I'd imagined. 6 months after returning from London, I ran into Nathan at a coffee shop. He was with someone, a woman I didn't recognize, laughing at something he'd said. He saw me and smiled. Lena. Hi.
Hi, Nathan.
There was no awkwardness. No lingering pain. Just 2 people who'd once meant something to each other, acknowledging that chapter had closed. This is Amanda, he said, introducing the woman beside him. Amanda, this is Lena. We used to be engaged. I know, Amanda said warmly. Nathan's told me about you, about how you helped him grow, even though it meant leaving. That surprised me. He has. Nathan nodded. I've been honest about my failures with you, about what I learned. Amanda deserves to know who I used to be, so she can hold me accountable for who I'm trying to become. That's mature of you. I learned from the best. We talked for a few minutes. He asked about my consulting practice. I asked about his life. It was pleasant, even warm. But there was no longing. No what-ifs. Just genuine happiness for each other's growth. As I walked away, I felt complete. This chapter of my life had truly ended, not with bitterness, but with mutual respect. And that felt like the perfect closure. 1 year after Vanessa's initial post, I decided to write publicly about my journey. Not to call anyone out or settle scores, but to share what I'd learned about self-worth, boundaries, and choosing yourself. A year ago, someone tried to humiliate me publicly by questioning my relationship's longevity. She was right to question it, but for the wrong reasons. That relationship didn't last. But not because I wasn't enough. because I finally realized I was too much, too strong, too ambitious, too valuable to stay in a dynamic that diminished me. This year taught me that sometimes the biggest blessing is recognizing when you deserve better. It taught me that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. It taught me that your worth isn't determined by who stays or who leaves, but by how you show up for yourself. To anyone who's ever been doubted, dismissed, or publicly mocked, your power comes from refusing to accept their narrative. Your victory comes from building a life so fulfilling that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Choose yourself. Every single time. You deserve it. The post went viral. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments from people sharing their own stories of choosing themselves. Media outlets requesting interviews. And through it all, I felt proud. Not of becoming famous or proving anyone wrong, but of having the courage to be vulnerable about my journey. My story began resonating beyond social media. I was invited to speak at conferences about empowerment, leadership, and self-advocacy. Each talk shared my journey from that humiliating Instagram post to building a thriving business. Women approached me afterward with tears in their eyes, saying I'd inspired them to leave toxic relationships, pursue delayed dreams, or simply believe in their own worth. I started a podcast called Choosing Yourself, where I interviewed others who'd made bold decisions to prioritize their growth and happiness. The audience grew steadily, creating a community of people committed to self-advocacy and personal development. My consulting practice expanded into leadership coaching. I worked with executives, helping them develop authentic leadership styles that empowered rather than diminished their teams. Everything I'd learned from my own experience informed my work. The transformation from being publicly mocked to becoming a voice of empowerment felt surreal. But it also felt earned. I'd done the hard work of choosing myself when it would have been easier to stay small. That decision had created ripples I never expected. Claire often reminded me where it started. Remember that day in the coffee shop when Vanessa's post came through? You were devastated. I remember. Look at you now, running a successful business, inspiring thousands of people, living completely on your own terms. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best transformations. Always, she corrected. Always. Today, 2 years after Vanessa's post, I'm sitting in my office overlooking the city, preparing for a keynote speech about resilience and self-worth. My consulting practice has grown beyond anything I imagined. I've helped hundreds of companies develop authentic empowerment campaigns. I've coached dozens of leaders to show up with integrity. And I've built a community of people committed to choosing themselves. Nathan is married now to Amanda. He sends me Christmas cards with updates about his continued therapy and growth. We're not friends, but we're at peace. Vanessa, I've heard, is still posting occasionally about her past relationship with Nathan. Still trying to maintain relevance through someone else's life. I don't follow her, don't think about her, don't let her occupy any space in my mind. She's irrelevant to my journey. Looking back at that devastating moment when she posted our photo with her cruel comment, I can honestly say I'm grateful. Not for the pain, but for the catalyst. That moment of public humiliation became the foundation for my transformation. It forced me to choose between accepting someone else's narrative or creating my own. I chose myself, and that choice changed everything. It ended a relationship that was slowly diminishing me. It pushed me toward opportunities I'd been too scared to pursue. It taught me that my worth was never dependent on who loved me or who validated me. My worth was inherent, permanent mine. To anyone reading this who's facing their own Vanessa, someone trying to diminish you, mock you, make you feel small, know this. Their cruelty reveals their limitations, not yours. Your response reveals your strength. Choose yourself. Build your life. Become so focused on your own growth that their negativity becomes background noise you don't even hear. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's building a life so fulfilling that their opinion becomes completely irrelevant. Vanessa thought she was predicting my relationship's failure. Instead, she predicted my transformation's beginning. And for that unexpected gift, I'm genuinely grateful. My phone buzzes with a reminder. Keynote speech in 1 hour. I close my laptop, straighten my jacket, and head out the door. Not as someone defined by who doubted her, but as someone who chose herself and never looked back. The engagement she mocked didn't last, but the engagement I made with myself to always prioritize my worth, my growth, my dreams, that's forever. And that's the only relationship that truly matters.